in response to that, I want to acknowledge and just share with you, I know that I trigger people. I'm like a walking trigger for the majority of people that I meet, and it's taken me 17 years to fully understand the complexity of that. And a lot of people have attacked me for it. I mean, same as David, I've been probably so attacked. I mean, you too. It's like I get attacked online all the time. I've been through some crazy scenarios.
I think you and I might be the most triggering people
I'm laughing at it
in our realm today.
I
for a number
so.
of reasons. For a number of reasons.
Literally. It's like all we have to do is breathe.
Unconditionally love.
Yes,
but keep going.
I know that I'm a walking trigger for people, and I have consciously worked on the tools within myself to be able to handle it and to somehow just reflect kindly back with compassion, because all I see when I look back at some of these people who have just like bammed it at me is like, oh my God, you're hurting so bad.
Yeah.
And I feel it.
Yep.
And it's just like, let me hold you through it. It makes them even more angry.
100%.
Like,
makes it worse.
What can you do but love them through it?
Yep.
And I'm also not going to shrink myself or compromise in any way because I've done that work.
Hallelujah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, most people are unhappy with the way that they're living their life. Don't be mad at me for fully choosing to step into my full power.
All right. Finally here, Wake the Fake Up on the island with an old friend of mine. You might know her from Instagram. You might know her from some of her books. You might know her from YouTube. You might know her because she's just one of the most glorious beings I've ever come across, and it's just always an honor to be around. Kristina, you're here on Wake the Fake Up. It's so beautiful to see you. I'm so excited about this conversation. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here and just in this environment and getting to talk with you and dive in with you about everything. I'm thrilled. Thank you.
Absolutely. This is almost a homecoming for us. You and I met, probably 3-4 years ago. I don't know exactly. And we did some Instagram lives together. We were talking a lot during the whole pandemic situation when everyone was locked down in their house. And I really, enjoyed where we went to into the depths of conversation. And everyone wants to talk about raw food and health and nutrition and all the things which we're going to get into. But, when I look back at some of our videos, we were talking about sovereignty, personal freedom, not living in fear, not letting the outside noise get in between what our mission is here, our dharma, our chosen path. And that's something that I've admired about you from, an outside lens, because I've been seeing how you've been navigating this crazy, crazy reality and holding yourself in your truth, in your freedom, and not wavering. And I just want to say right now, so everyone can hear this, and I'm looking directly into your eyes while we're in the middle of the jungle, which is the best ever, is that I honor and I respect and I value the position that you've taken in your life and standing in full bloom on all the things that you truly believe in. And I mean that as your brother. I mean that as someone that is connected to you heart to heart. It's pure reverence coming directly at you. This isn't just lip service. I don't just throw these words out there. And I just want to let you know face to face.
Thank you. I receive that deeply. And I want to acknowledge it because it's true. I've changed my whole life to be here to live in alignment with my belief system. I can't say that many people do that. I've been a raw vegan. For those who don't know me, my name's Christina. I've been a raw vegan for over 17 years now, and I have essentially changed my whole life to be able to grow my own food and to eat the highest quality, ripe, fresh, whole, organic fruits, vegetables, exotics possible, and to be able to live in alignment with my truth and to have food freedom is what I like sovereignty, essentially. I think when most people come to my page, they think, oh, it's just about raw vegan recipes, but it's really not. It's about teaching people to have it's food freedom, teaching them how to actually live, which is what people really need right now, right? And you see so many people who are constantly, I don't want to say sacrificing, but they make compromises, right? And we don't have so many examples out there of people who are actually fully embodying the type of lifestyle that we're all striving for. And so we need more examples. I'm like, I got to show up and do this. And I actually love doing this. It's a part of, I feel like my life's purpose and mission is to show up and embody this. And
do you feel like a superhero when you wake up and this is like you're putting your coat on, and it's authentically you. But I'm saying, do you feel like a little bit driven because you're showing up for people? That has to be true. I feel it in my reality.
I feel that I am showing up for myself more than anything, but I think the words that I would choose are embodied, humbled in beyond humbled, and relentless in my pursuit of helping change people's lives, and extremely purpose driven.
So it's like an insatiable hunger, right?
I've been doing this for 17 years and I still feel just as passionate about this message as I did day one.
It's incredible because I hear 17 years raw food vegan. And so, David Wolf, my cousin, I was, 10 years young, right around the time that he started to acclimate towards raw foodism. And so right when he wrote Nature's First Law. And I remember seeing him evolve into that kind of reality and I was like, wait a second, maybe we're not supposed to be eating cooked food. Maybe cooking destroys most foods and turns most foods into poisons. In fact, maybe we're not designed to be eating meat. Maybe we're supposed to be growing our own food and eating everything raw. And I remember it making a lot of sense to me back then. And then as I started evolving, getting older and having more experience, I kind of navigated into a lens or perspective that worked more for me and my lifestyle and what I was creating for my life, and understanding that I was a little bit more flexible. I altered into a little bit more of a qualitarian role, and which is interesting because you and I were talking about this offline. You feel you are raw, vegan, but also a qualitarian. And so I think this is important because I believe you can do raw vegan and thrive. I don't think you can just be hanging on, but you have to be a qualitarian in that perspective. Right? You have to be doing it right. There's really no areas that you can't just let it collapse.
Absolutely. I'm in the best shape of my life at 35, 17 years later.
You look great.
More so than at the beginning of my journey, because I have chosen to narrow in on these skills and get very specific and learn about health and also the lifestyle. I think what you're saying is so important because at the end of the day, it's an ethical choice to be vegan, and you can be healthy or unhealthy as a vegan. You can be healthy or really unhealthy as a raw vegan. You can be unhealthy and healthy in any realm. And there's ways to discover success, whichever way that you choose. And that's given me a lot of freedom. Like, oh gosh, I can choose this route and I can choose how to master it and how to be free in it and embody it. And I've done that.
Was it trial and error? And just to rewind a little bit, did you get into this based on ethics? Was it a moral decision that you said, you know what, I've had it, I can't do this? Is that what brought you there? And then you realized, wait a second, this is actually working for me. I'm detoxifying my body. I'm letting go of so much trauma. Things are purging out of me. Fruits, as we know, are hydrating and detoxifying. I can go on and on. But was that kind of how it happened?
I was a type 2 diabetic. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that.
I was diagnosed when I was 14. And then by the time I was 18, I was not in good shape. I was really emaciated, hospitalized, all these things. And story condensed, I was in a natural grocery store and a stranger had walked up to me and told me about raw foods. And I went raw vegan in one night and never went back. And it changed my life. So I was a skinny, weakling little thing when I first began my journey, and I was definitely not healthy. And over the course of years, I've learned how to regain my strength. Now, so for me in the beginning, it was about health because you and I grew up in very cultural families. I had never heard of such a thing.
Right.
Okay, ever.
Right.
Did not grow up on fruits and vegetables. I grew up on all this
rice and meats and potatoes.
Lebanese food, right?
Yeah.
I could go on about that. But what ended up happening is that over the course of the 17 years, I very much realized, like, I'm healthy again. I could go back to eating meat. I could go back to doing these things, but I've continued to do it because of my ethical choice.
That's right.
Right? And so I have found a way to do this successfully. I get my blood checked every year. I just had my full blood panel taken. I'm so solid.
Okay, so across the board, your lipids look good.
Everything.
Your hormones are good. Thyroid's firing to perfection.
I am
everything.
Healthier than I have ever been.
I love hearing that. I'm so stoked for you.
And
yeah.
And I could just say, like, I feel so good. Like, beyond what's on paper, I'm in better shape than I ever have been. I'm lifting weights. Like
I can
I'm
tell
running,
you.
I'm farming.
Yeah.
I'm I'm cutting trees with a machete, like me.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right? So I feel super embodied, and God, it feels good.
Yeah. That's
Can I
beautiful.
just say that?
Yeah.
And also I think it's a reminder to people that you don't have to compromise. Right? I imagine there was a point in my journey where I felt like I'd walk into grocery stores and there wouldn't be options, or wouldn't be, my first business was I started a organic co-op, a farmer's market in Texas, because I was so sick of having terrible produce just everywhere. I wanted quality produce, because that there's nothing better than ripe, delicious fruit off the tree, like just beaming with biophotons and life force.
It's
right?
a completely different frequency
That is
than
what it's about.
some
right?
regular agriculture nonsense. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
my third business was starting that farmer's market, and I did that for 11 years, and it was wonderful for me at the time. I felt like I was fulfilling my purpose, and I probably would have done it until the day I died had like life not come in and change things around for me. But my next step in life has been, okay, now you're actually going to go do it yourself on an island. You're going to fully do this. And we're going to, like, life just told me we're going to take you by the hands and we're going to guide you every step along the way. And so I'm here doing this now. I live on 9 acres. I planted 600 and some, I'm almost done planting 700 fruit trees this year, all organic, 92 different varieties of fruit. And I have a really amazing 5-year plan. And I'm really, and like,
You're going into year 3?
Year 3 of living here.
I can't believe that. I mean, you and I were communicating when this was a conversation, because I remember I wanted to come out to the island too. I was inspired and I was like, okay, I got to live here part time. I remember you sending me houses and go, what do you think of this one? What do you think of that one? Remember that?
I do.
And now you're going into year 3.
And I'm growing and eating 80% of what, like everything I'm eating, like 80% of that is what I'm growing or what my next door neighbors are growing. Like I'm eating all delicious, high vibrational foods all the time. So that extra 20%, just so you know, is like organic nuts or seeds that you find at a natural grocery store.
Sure.
Something that isn't here naturally.
Right.
Right. So
this is okay. So this is unbelievable. So I'm having flashbacks of a vision of paradise, and me and Avocado were always talking about our vision of paradise is living somewhat, or if not fully, agrarian. Right. So you're basically living off the land that you are stewarding. Right. And so you talk about compromise. People are compromising this, compromising that. How do we, I always think, how do we get to this position where we're compromising this life? Like, this is it. We don't know. We can have our faith. We can have our religion. We can have our spiritual mysticism. We can go into the psychedelic phase and know that there's something more. Of course, I believe that. That's fine. But this is our shot here. Why do we compromise one thing that can affect and drastically change our entire landscape of our reality and what we're eating, what we're putting back into the land? I don't think anything supersedes that. And most of you guys know my background in biodynamics, and Steiner talked about it. It's not so much just reaping the benefits of mineralized food, but it's the practice of creating it and really stewarding that land. Can I ask you, how have you evolved in this entire process over the last 24 months?
can I please answer this question?
Yes, please go.
so
I could see it in your face. You're just turning the colors. The veins are popping.
Let me answer.
Let's go berserk.
Over the course of the past 17 years, just as you and David have seen, there's so many people who come in and out of this way of thinking, this lifestyle, this choice, and they don't stick to it. Right?
Yep.
So I have learned that it is more than just a choice. It's more than just a commitment. And I have explored this so much because it has driven me nuts to a certain degree,
Sure.
where I have made so many connections and then I've seen them fall away. And to a certain degree, for those of us who have been carrying the torch for so long, it's just like,
Yeah.
feels like a little dip of hopelessness here and there. But then I look at the greater picture, and we truly live in a society. We live in this cultural dynamic that does not support really anybody going against the grain.
Right.
And when you look at how the media is functioning, and even just how our closer circles of people, like friends, however, are operating, there is so much shame in having sovereignty, in being unique, in making your own choices. And when you look at it, we people are not given the tools to actually make the choices. What do you need to feel embodied? What do you need to be fully healthy and empowered? And so few people don't know how to stand into that. They don't know how to show up into that. And so it's the opinions of others. Really,
Is it laziness?
I think it has more to do with being culturally shunned or, being criticized, judged by the opinions of others. And also,
But tell me specifically what? Like, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this.
I love this.
Like, so if someone is not feeling like they're getting supported by saying, you know what, F this, F the social climate, F trying to be cool, F the functions. I just want to create a homestead, or I want to get my hands dirty.
It's going to vary for each individual. But like, okay, so yes, there are people who do that, right? And they'll come here. I'm gonna start with some other examples first, because I think
Take your time.
On a grander scheme of things, what I have seen is people who, I'd say, like, I'm gonna start from small and go big.
Let's go.
Most people will think, oh, I just don't have the resources. It's too hard. I don't have the money. It's like they live in
So a poverty conscious
limiting mindset. That's like level 1.
Okay.
Level 2 might be, I'm a mom of 4 and I have a family and it's not convenient, or I can't put myself first. And if my husband wants this, just like, I'm going to put everybody else first kind of a mindset, that self-sacrifice, that martyrdom syndrome,
yeah.
right? Moving into that. And then the self-sacrifice comes, like you see that. And then moving into the next phase, which might be the self-deprecating syndrome, right? I could never do that.
Yeah.
Could never be that, And so the second somebody says something, you're just go back into the hole and you're like, nope, I want to be accepted. Can't handle this. I can't step into my own. It's like that's like level 3.
Yep.
Most people can't even make it
to level 3. Yeah, I'm with you.
Right. And so then past level 3 is what I have learned is this lifestyle for me has been far beyond physical. Like, I healed, completely reversed my type 2 diabetes. I was like, that this is amazing. This is where it's at. But then it opened up mental healing for me. Healed so much trauma from my family. As you know,
Sure.
Arab Hispanic families, we got it loaded.
Absolutely.
It was like
Yeah.
loaded.
Yeah.
One step past that was, oh man, the spiritual doors opened. Be like, oh, we can be connected with what we eat. I can be connected within my body. And then trying to get people to stay in that space where you move into your own divine healing, your own like conscious awareness for like how we are actually moving and activating within this
whatever this is.
Like whatever
this is, right.
Like fully stepping into that, it can be terrifying at times.
Sure.
To see yourself and then to be so raw and vulnerable in it. I mean, it's, talking about moving through all those phases, I think it does hold people back. And so I think that's why it will vary individually from person to person. But since you were asking, going back to what about the people who want to steward, and you see them here. There's not so many of us.
Right.
This is the path less chosen. But I'm not just talking about food. People who are choosing to show up and nourish themselves properly and just be different and choose to not numb or stimulate or stuff it down.
Chasing the dopamine. Yeah.
So many people are just choosing to just shove it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can you just be open? Just feel it. Let's free it. There's so many different ways to release it, but our society does not support that.
Yep.
Everywhere you look is a dopamine hit.
That's right.
Right?
Oh, it's escapism, stimuli, everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Instead of like, let's get down to the root of what's going on, how you're feeling, and where the trauma lays. Yeah.
I think it's a sickness.
It 100%. The Wetiko virus in the mind, it's casted its spell. Let me ask you this. If there was no such thing as your social media.
Mm-hmm. I love this question already. I know how I'm going to answer it.
Okay. What would be different?
Nothing. I am living my perfectly aligned divine life. And
Okay.
Actually, funny story. I won't mention their names because this is so funny. But back in the day, David will know who I'm talking about. There were these 3 guys who were raw. And I just remember they asked me one time and they were making fun of me, even though they were trying to do the same thing. They were literally making fun of me for what I was doing and how I was showing up, even though because I was a female in the space, outperforming them. And they were just like, oh, you must just be raw for the attention, or you must just be raw for this. And they're like, what would you do if there was no camera on you?
Interesting.
And I just looked at them straight in the eye. I was like, I've been raw vegan 6 years before I even started my YouTube channel. I was like, I will be doing this and living this lifestyle long after social media somehow disappears.
Yeah.
And you'll know where to find me. I was like, I will be on an island somewhere growing my own fruit. And I remember like answering it just like that. And now I'm here actually doing it. But I use it as a conduit to get this message out because it's important. Like, and so many people can take away at least one little nugget, whether it's a recipe or just the consciousness that they can eat higher vibrational foods, eat more raw foods, eat a vegan meal a day. There's so many things that you can take away from this to improve your quality of life and not feel that you are just like a victim walking on this planet all the time and like not having sovereignty, right? I think it's our job to give people those tools, inspiration, little nuggets of hope, right? That's what you're doing here. Wake the fake up. You're trying to wake people out of that sleepiness, numbingness, sickness phase.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people feel, I don't know what the word is. And it's they feel so sunken into it that hopelessness is really hard to come out of.
Well, their defense system goes up, right? Because that's how they've been probably reacting to things that have taken them out of their comfort zone their entire life. I think you and I have talked about it before in one of our lives that, you know, we're waking people up, but we're also threatening their comfort zone. And that's a cliche statement that's been talked about in all of our social climates. But like to truly, you know, give some perspective here, I asked that question because I authentically read you and I'm not giving you lip service. I know this is what you embody. There's nothing shaking that. And anyone that has a problem with that, I invite you to look deep into your soul and figure out what is going on and what pathway led you to that theme of frustration, resentment, anger, all of those things. And that right there could be the best medicine, and the best thing that you receive from this entire interview, this entire podcast, is that mirroring effect.
In response to that, I want to acknowledge and just share with you, I know that I trigger people. I'm like a walking trigger for the majority of people that I meet. And it's taken me 17 years to fully understand the complexity of that. And a lot of people have attacked me for it. I mean, same as David, I've been probably so attacked. I mean, you too. It's like I get attacked online all the time. I've been through some crazy scenarios.
I think you and I might be the most triggering people
I'm laughing at it
in our realm today.
I
for a number of reasons.
Literally. It's like all we have to do is breathe.
Unconditionally love.
Yes,
but keep going.
I know that I'm a walking trigger for people, and I have consciously worked on the tools within myself to be able to handle it and to somehow just reflect kindly back with compassion, because all I see when I look back at some of these people who have just like bammed it at me is like, oh my God, you're hurting so bad.
Yeah.
And I feel it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, let me hold you through it. It makes them even more angry.
100%.
Like,
makes it worse.
What can you do but love them through it?
Yep.
And I'm also not going to shrink myself or compromise in any way because I've done that work.
Hallelujah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, most people are unhappy with the way that they're living their life. Don't be mad at me for fully choosing to step into my full power.
Fully Raw Kristina is not taking away what you know, what you've learned, what your experience is. Even people in the raw food community, if you're listening to this, she's on your side. You guys are soul family. It's not like you're missing your spotlight because of what she's doing. There's billions of people in this world. This scarcity mentality is defining you at the deepest core level. And trust me, we want you on our team. You are on our team unconditionally. Know that. It's like nothing but love.
Yes, nothing but love. And if you don't feel the love, question what your intentions are in showing up right now.
That's it right there. Okay, so let's rewind that. That was very well said. What is your intention for showing up? I think that right there is a very qualifying question to determine what your position is and what's setting you off and what's causing you to go down or railroad yourself into that pain or that anger or that resentment. Great words.
I've seen so many people come in and out of this lifestyle and fall away because they get tired of trying to like wear the mask.
Yep.
it gets exhausting wearing a mask, right? I
Totally.
can imagine.
Yep.
But if your heart, like, this is where it's like I invite you to fully step into your heart.
Yep.
Like, get clear with your intent. Like, everybody should be operating with like 100% intention of purpose, and this is what you want. Everybody has a purpose. You're not here to be like anybody else. You're not here to, I'm questioning intention and getting clear on that is vital.
I think it's interesting, and I wanted to point this out because I can speak for myself. I'm not, when I get into my health perspective, my mysticism, sovereignty, all the topics that we love to talk about, I'm giving my personal reflection. I'm not telling anyone this is how you need to do it. I always teach and I always offer, you have the lens and the heart and the ability to practice discernment, right? Not judgment, not things based on fear, but your own personal perspective, which then becomes your reality. And I wanted to make that clear, and I wanted you to have the opportunity to voice that. You're not telling people. I've never saw that from you at all whatsoever. I've never got an energy. You've never shamed me. Oh, Chervin, you're eating a cooked thing or whatever, this and that. Yeah. No, you know what? Never.
That's not my vibe.
No. You're not pushing an agenda. You're not shaming anyone. You're just saying, hey, look, this is what's working for me. I'm stoked right now. It's been 17 years strong. I'm going to keep going. If you like what I'm doing, here's some more information. Am I right?
That's exactly it.
Yep.
And I'm healthy. I'm happy. I'm thriving. If this is what you want, you can do it too.
Yep.
I just want to live as an inspiration and an example.
I
And
love it.
also, I come first. Like, my joy comes first. My happiness comes first, right?
Yep. That's it right there.
Right?
You have to come first, because at some point I've known people. I've been around this community. I've been around the alternative health community. I've been around other different communities. When you're doing it in a position where you're working at a deficit all the time, that's when things start to unravel, and that's when people start doing quacky stuff, get out of character, start ruining relationships, and it just goes downhill. And the health follows right with it.
That's where discernment comes in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And discernment has so many different layers to it. I think that I want to just point this out, but this lifestyle is way more than just the physical. Having discernment is also knowing how you show up mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. I think people get so caught up in the physical component of this, of feeling the physical health and the physical high of it. As you know, our mental state and our emotional state play just as equally of an important role.
More. It dictates it. Yeah.
Right? And it determines how you show up in those other states. It's missed so much. People do not place enough emphasis on it. So I think if we're talking about discernment, like, people need to check themselves. So many people are not willing to look in the mirror. They're not willing to practice self-awareness or hold themselves accountable or responsible. I have people who approach me all the time like, why can't I do this? I'm like, well, what are you eating? Well, I get cravings, and I had this and I ate this. I'm like, well, who put that in your mouth?
Right. Where'd that decision come from?
Where did it come from? Why did you do it? Let's talk about it without shame, without guilt, without judgment, but let's just explore it.
So let's get into one thing I've been wanting to ask you. Is there anything that you regret that you might have done in terms of opening yourself up to the world? Do you think you might have at one point kind of opened the lens a little bit too much into your personal life?
Maybe, but I can't go back and change what I didn't know. I feel like I've always done the best with the decisions that I've made. And I don't want to use the word regret, but I will say this. I definitely have learned more about boundaries and discernment in these past 17 years than I thought I ever would have. That has absolutely been like my greatest life's lessons. And I've also learned that you can't trust people with your full heart. Like, not everybody is good. You can show up as this beaming, bright, vulnerable, like, light of love for people, and it won't always be received well, which is why I'm saying, like, I've learned that I trigger people. So, like, you can't show up in love all the time. Sometimes you have to learn how to show up with boundaries and grace and compassion. I would say that, because not everybody is gonna show up like a bubbly love for you.
Right. That's a false identity. And,
right.
Yep.
I mean, I'm a Pisces. I have so much. I don't know any other way to be but to wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm so open and raw. I mean, anybody who has spent time around me just knows I'm just like a walking ball of mush and emotion. But I have learned how to have better boundaries, and I've also learned how to be okay with anything I share. It's like I take full responsibility and I hold myself accountable. It's like, okay, now I can just show up and like set an example. Like, okay, everybody, I learned a lesson. It wasn't easy to do that publicly, but here we are. I did it.
That's amazing.
Right? I mean, what else can I do? I don't want to have regret. That's toxic.
Yep.
But I do love myself enough to show up and hold myself accountable for things. But at the end of the day, I don't regret anything and I don't carry any shame.
Yep.
I feel like people do judge me for certain things, but I've never acted out of integrity, and I can absolutely say that. Yep. And if somebody has accused me of that, I've always stood up for myself and spoken my truth. And I think that when you really love yourself, you know how to stand up and share your truth, and that is all that matters.
I always appreciated that about you, is that you didn't back down from how you feel. And it wasn't like you didn't say, okay, let me just corner this or bottle it up. Let me just really speak my truth and honor that. And, it reminds me of, being in middle school or high school, right? There's some reflections there that, a lot of kids, they're bullied, they're teased, and they don't stand up for themselves. And that hate gets buried. And it just comes out later in life in some kind of, disaster or disease or a terrible relationship, or it's just, and so I appreciate that, you're not holding on to those things, and that you're also just being in your truth. You talk about when things are bothering you, and you talk about things that have struck you in a certain way, at least offline you have with me. And I really honor that. A lot of people are scared to be vulnerable. And I think it's not cliche again, but I think that's the ultimate superpower, is to be able to really speak about things that are hurting you, and you feeling some kind of, you wanting to reflect that to another soul.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
To me, that's the definition of showing up with love, like really showing up with love. And we need more people doing that. I think that's what creates healing. And I was bullied so much in school growing up. Have we had this conversation?
No, but I could see that happening.
I was shoved into lockers because I fit in them.
Yeah.
Just so you know. So that's why I say me learning boundaries and how to speak up and stand my truth has been my greatest life lesson, because me actually doing that for myself is often terrifying.
Yeah.
Often terrifying, because I'm afraid of the rebuttal, but then I'm like, oh, but they're just a bully.
Yeah.
They're more afraid of you than you are.
For sure.
Because when you like fully ignite that within yourself, that power, they're just this small, right? And so it's like when you look at them that way, you're like, all right, I got to show up with love. Or here's how we're gonna do this. Because I see you as melted butter. We're just gonna, we're gonna do this.
You are bringing out the quote: "How you do anything is how you do everything," and I see you embodying that. So. Again, not to keep tooting your horn, but
you've been so gracious with me this whole interview. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, you ready to get annihilated? Okay, here we go.
Well, let's be gracious as well. But
So, how is your brain functioning on raw food? Okay.
God, I like to think it's on supercharged. Well, I've been supercharged for a long time. I do everything myself now. Like I used to have 35 employees-ish when I was running my farmer's market. And now it's like I've narrowed it down to me doing so much on my own. Like I'm like a high-wired machine. I'm so efficient.
You're slaying, essentially.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like that word.
Yeah.
I'm slaying.
You're slaying.
Sounds very Beyonce, but I slay all day.
You're an official. I just want to say this right now because, millions of people are going to hear this. I want to say this right now.
Oh, goodness.
You are officially a berserker.
I'm like you in that sense. Can I say
Which is
that?
the greatest compliment.
Thank you.
Ever.
How about this? I don't like to toot it. I'm a quiet berserker. I like to do my hard work in silence.
Yep.
And then when I'm ready to launch it, I launch it and I go berserk and then I go back to work. That's my style. I just I love it. I don't talk about things while I'm working on them. I go get my shiz done and then I come back in full force. That's
a fundamental trait for scaling your reality and closing in on your vision is work in silence, then share.
Yeah.
Do not prelude to the outside audience what it is that you want to accomplish, because to some degree, the dopamine of receiving people's clapping will actually lower your ability of getting it done. That's a fact. Just think about that. And so I respect that you are, your feet's in the earth. You're going after it. You're going berserk. So let's go back to health real quick, and let's talk about some of the fundamentals of your lifestyle.
But real quick, why'd you ask me about my mental health?
Because
why did you ask me about that?
Because so for me, I would have to say, to have a functioning brain, you would need choline, you would need certain animal fats, you would need certain nutrients that would create and help structure the gray matter in your brain and create balance and help manufacture hormones. I mean, you're an anomaly to me, between me and you.
I was just about to ask you, have I given you any signs that I am like not cognitively connecting with you at this moment in time?
It's quite actually the opposite.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I want to like take you into my lab and just kind of, I want to study you and understand, because you are what you eat.
Absolutely.
100%. And you've been raw vegan for 17 freaking years.
Yes.
17 fucking years. Okay.
Yes.
That's full the F on.
Berserker.
That's full berserker. And that's freaking badass. So
thank you.
So the way I always say, so everyone asks me, Chervin, should I be a frugivore? Should I be a carnivore? Should I be a vegan? Should I be a breatharian? Whatever the hell it is. Yeah. And I always say, if you're going to go full berserk, you want to go fully vegan, you want to go fully raw, you can't do it living in your, in your urban sprawl city situation. I don't believe it's possible. You have to be eating the sun. You have to be eating the earth. You have to be away from the stressors, the light pollution, the sound pollution, all the radiations, all the EMFs, all the chemicals, all that stuff. And you need to be soaking up the mana, the life force of nature. Yes. I mean, at the end of the day, when you eat an orange, you're actually eating the sun, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And oh my gosh, can we?
You want to get into photons? You want to get into alchemy?
Get a kick. Like, when I tell people that I eat flowers as food for a living, they're like, "What?" Like,
yeah.
Because anyways, I'm gonna go. I think that it varies from person to person, but the point is, you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary to reclaim yourself and your health and whatever is entailed. Now, that being said, I've only been living here for more than 3 years, so I did live in a city. But even within the city, I was like seeking out local produce. I was still seeking out the best quality things I could find to make it happen in, like, as much as I could possibly do.
Right.
In the area.
How much energy did that take to do that?
I think once you get the hang of it, it becomes just like anything else. You have to master a skill. And that was all being shipped to you. That was all you were connecting to farmers. Remember, I ran my own farmers market, so right? I would say at that point it was maybe like 40% of what I was eating was local, and then the rest was, Okay. But I was making conscious decisions and seeking out as much locally grown, always organic. When I go to the store, making sure I'm touching things that they're ripe, they have a smell.
Knowing who grew it, understanding the soil science.
Yes, you need to supplement.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I mean, all right. Now we're talking. Okay. So you transitioned into living on an island. Before we get into supplementation, all the other stuff, what has changed in you physically, mentally, since being on the island? Have you upgraded? Do you feel like you feel 100 times better?
You know what has changed for me is my nervous system has come into like full calmness of who I am.
Which is huge because you're raw vegan.
Well, I don't think I ever fully realized how, like, we talk about dopamine hits.
Yeah.
When you're in a city, it's like you see a street light, billboard light, hear a honk. Like, you're constantly being stimulated every single freaking second. And where I'm at right now, I don't see one light at night. Just the stars. I'm never stimulated. So what it allowed me to do is completely get like sound in my nervous system. And now that being said, I just want to say, I know a lot of people who have not made it on this island because they cannot deal with their own thoughts. If you are not mentally sound, if you are not like strong within yourself, you will not make it here. Some people go crazy because they're not willing to practice the self-awareness and to whip out the tools and be like, this is what I need to work on. But if you are, it is completely cracked me open in a new way. Like, I'm not really eating in a different way than I was when I was in the city. The quality of food that I'm getting is absolutely better. No question. I'm growing my, like, the Life Force food is better, but I've also equally put in as much time to heal and work on myself in other capacities. And that for me is what I think turned me into, I'm just going to be honest here, a naive girl into a fully embodied woman. Like I feel like a woman now. Like, and I'm doing my own thing, and nobody can touch that because it's just me now. Right? Like, it feels really good. It's like I'm a little bashful about it now, but it's like, oh,
that is beautiful.
I'm doing my thing.
That
right?
I feel that. Like, I can feel it in you. You know, it's coming off your essence. It's in this toroidal field. It's in the frequency of being in the jungle. I think it's such a powerful perspective and awareness that shutting down 90% of the clutter and the noise, you know, it's a big part of my message. Everyone's always asking me, Chervin, what Symbiotica product's going to change my life? And I'm like, look, before we even talk about nutraceuticals and nutrients, what is impacting your daily reality? How are you sleeping? Are you in darkness? Are you around electric smog? Are you getting bombarded with so many stressors to life? And these things people know in the health community. We know this is real. And so to hear that you've, you know, diametrically just shut down all the noise and you turned off that, you know, light bulb that was always just sputtering is massive. And I agree. A lot of people go out into the wild, right? It could be an island, it could be another country, it could be whatever. And it's like a slow ayahuasca journey, you know, and not many people make it because a lot of people aren't comfortable in the silence. And have you found yourself in moments where you kind of need a little bit of stimuli? Because we are still a human being and no. Okay. So this is part of your disposition.
I mean, I'll ask you a question. How many people do you know that have made the conscious choice to step into their expansion and have chosen to take on any consequence that has come along with that decision?
A very small percentage. I know a lot that have done it.
I know you've done it. So I will say this. I feel very grateful that we have a solid like island family and a group of friends here. And considering I'm a water sign, when I cry, it's like sometimes it lasts for days, but I now know how to hold myself through it. I don't want to stimulate myself anymore. Like, I feel even worse when I do it. Like, and I don't, like, in any capacity. Like, and by stimulant, I mean, I can't even turn on the TV anymore. I haven't turned on my TV in months. Nope. Like, not even to watch a movie because it affects my psyche. I went through a period of months where I didn't even listen to music because I was like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to, like, nothing. I just needed silence or to hear the birds singing. I, like, needed to come back to myself. And I found the opposite. Like, any type of stimuli was painful for me, and I needed quiet time. And so,
how do you navigate social media with this level of monkhood?
I focus on the purpose that I'm here for, sharing my message, and I think that.
Do you have it organized? Do you have it like structured, or is it free flow?
I'm a free flower. I mean, because I post every time somebody sees something from me, it's I've done it myself. But because I've been doing this so long, and because so many people have put bad stuff about me now, I can handle that component. Yeah. But where I'm learning how to grow is in different areas. So I'm focused on what I'm sharing that week, what I'd like to teach people, a nugget they can take away. It's like, this is what I'm contributing this week. And it's like, okay, how can I use my journey to simply show? And if I don't focus on myself, I can't show up for other people. You know that.
I'm always talking about momentum in life. You know, how you do anything is how you do everything. And momentum can go any direction. It can go into thriving. Yep. It can go into disaster, disease, pain, all of those things. Things don't just happen overnight. My question to you is, how do you develop momentum if someone wants to go into this lifestyle and wants to find ways to better themselves, to feel better about themselves, and to feel more connected to the food that they're eating?
I love that question. Thank you.
Of course.
I think it's important to acknowledge that you and I have had a beautiful discussion, and you and I are meeting each other on this level where we fully know what it feels like to have and embody some of these things. And some people listening might not even like fully comprehend that, right?
Yeah.
So where I like to tell people to start is just by inviting them to try one raw vegan meal a day or one vegan meal. Let's just start with the physical, since like for me that's like the opening to the rest of what could be to come. Like just starting with one healthy chosen meal a day, and add in one healthy mental practice a day, add in one healthy emotional practice a day, add in one healthy spirit. Like just do one each of those every single day, and just start to feel what we are talking about here. We need to get people to start stepping into this space and identifying what it is, because some people are they're listening, they're watching, and they're like, what does that feel like? What does that sound like? Raw food? They're there, right? And I hope that that's being received well when I say that. I say that because I just want you to know I know where you're coming from. And I remember the beginning of my journey was, God, I had so many questions. I needed so much hand holding. I had so much to figure out. It was so terrifying. If you can just find a couple of recipes you can repeat every week, whether it be a healthy juice, a healthy smoothie, a healthy salad, that's really the beginning of stepping into your body. And I think what you can trust is as you step into your physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual will absolutely follow naturally if you just start practicing tiny little healthy habits every day. And then continue listening to this amazing podcast every day. Continue to expand your awareness around this. And as you begin to step more into it, I'm hoping that like in maybe 5 years, they'll come back and they'll listen to this and be like, that's what they were talking about.
Well, that's going to happen.
Right? And how cool would that be? So
full circle, right?
Right.
I agree with everything you just said. I love the way that you put it. You know, there's a bunch of guys listening to this right now. Let me give you an example. I love to lift weights. I love movement. I love exercising. You know, and us men, we love to train like glamour parts of the body. Like I love big chest workouts. I love squats. I love cleans. I love big back rows, because after I'm done, I'm jacked. You know, volume is everywhere. Blood is everywhere. We have massive spikes of endorphins. We feel virile, like we're just like monsters ready to take on the world, caveman style. But, you know, some of the other things that we don't like to do are some of those core exercises, right? Is the functional movements, things like that. And I've told myself, I said, look, if I start doing that more, I know I'm going to feel better. I don't like to do them. It's not that much fun. I don't get that much satisfaction, but I know it's going to start changing my everyday life and the way that I'm functioning as a man. And so lately, over the last, few months, 4 days a week, I'm doing at least 10 minutes of floor exercises on functional movements, lower back exercises, core exercises, and I'm reaping the benefits of it right now in my everyday. And as those things start to, materialize, and I can feel, wow, I can stand better, my posture is better, my inner strength is better, I start understanding what momentum means. And so to reflect back on everything you said, start making a choice once a day, once a week, start somewhere. It could be a raw vegan meal. It can mean that you're going to go research who in your town has got the best food ever. Go to your local farmer's market. Start meeting people. Get online. These little things are for you. This is what self-love is all about, and it has to start somewhere.
Yes. Can I just speak to the men, since you were speaking to the men?
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you talk about self-love or changing your diet, for women, it's easy to see that connection, but for men, it might feel threatening because they do want to be jacked up and masculine for women to receive them. And I just want to add on to that, men, if you're listening, and you can delete this if you want.
No, we're not deleting it. Maybe we will.
There is nothing about vegan food or eating raw that will remove any bits of masculinity from you. You can still be just as jacked and physically healthy. I think if anything, it contributes to a polarity that for women, I find to be extremely sexy, and that's coming from me as a woman. So I'm just saying, men who work on themselves is extremely sexy to women.
Absolutely. Do you hear that, men?
I'm just saying,
that's what women want to see.
We want to see you show up and stand in this space because we want to meet you there. Lead us. Just saying.
Can you tell what kind of man is raw vegan versus one who's not? Can you tell by their odor, their pheromones?
Not anymore. Okay, what you're talking about is farm work hippies versus
No. I that's a whole nother subject. I'm just saying, do you have that spidey sense?
How about this? I can smell when someone eats meat. but it no longer like I can smell the difference, yes, but it doesn't bother me anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you date someone that was a meat eater?
I have.
Okay.
All of my exes were not vegan when I started dating them.
Okay, and you converted them?
I did.
So you're like a Christ figure in that sense?
No, we're not going to say that. You know what? I have not. This is how I show up. Limitations don't run my life. Love runs my life.
I like that.
Right? And I choose to like love people where they're at. And like I said before, it's like I'm not perfect. I've loved people who didn't have certain things that were in alignment with me. I'm in a very different place in my life right now. I've been single for a long time, but I don't limit myself in that way.
Okay.
Like, do I love you any less because you eat meat? No.
No.
Like, like to me, that just sounds like it doesn't
it's
resonate.
Limiting.
It doesn't resonate with me. Now, that being said, would it be amazing if my partner did? Yes. And every single man that I have ever loved has shown up for me in that way. And 3 out of 4 of them are still vegan. Even like, so I'm like, wow, I changed their life some way.
Interesting.
Something to take away from that.
I appreciate how you ended that right there is, you showed them a way. And of course, in terms of your lifestyle, if you guys are in a partnership, it would just be perfect to coincide with that because it makes things so much easier.
And I want to just emphasize that it was their choice.
Yeah, you didn't.
I did. I was.
Well,
not,
you got some massive guns on you, and you are intimidating. So you might have put someone in a chokehold. Let's play a little trivial question. What is raw and loaded with super nutrients and minerals?
Wait, what? Do you know how silly that question is?
No. Wait, hold on. Let me try that again. All right, let me just go straight to it. Will you eat a dozen oysters with me?
No.
I had to ask you that.
Why would you ask me that?
I just had to. I mean, I always was I'm gonna.
But no, like I'm gonna just show. Like you can sit there and eat.
Are you curious to what an oyster tastes like?
No, because I had oysters back in the day, and I never liked them.
You never liked them?
Well, actually, I don't know if you know this, but I'm deathly allergic to shellfish.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I get hives all over my body, and my throat starts swelling up. I have to go to the hospital.
Really?
Yeah. So,
this was off like a shrimp or a lobster or crab or something?
Yeah, mainly crustaceans, but it can happen with any fish, actually.
Okay.
So I'm not a fan of fish, and I basically scream when somebody puts like a crawfish on a table with their eye. I scream and run away. It's like a terrifying thing for me.
Interesting. I always wanted to ask you about oysters. I was just like, I'm gonna have oysters.
But why? It's just like, why does that make you curious?
Well, for men, oysters, it's like strung like bull. It's like,
really?
Oh yeah, it's very virile.
This is very new to me. I feel
like you didn't know that?
No, I feel like this is the first time I'm ever having this conversation.
Oysters are obviously an aphrodisiac for multiple reasons.
I've heard of that.
Right?
Yes. Okay.
The common nomenclature around it, or perspective, excuse me, not nomenclature. The common perspective is that oysters resemble female anatomy. And so that's one thing.
Oh, light bulb just went off. Okay.
Yeah. And then it's actually the micronutrients in oysters, mainly the zinc and selenium, that have a powerful, boost towards men's libido.
Got it.
And testosterone production, among other things.
So my style would be more along the lines of, oh, wow, I see that you like oysters. They're not really my thing, but is there anything else we can enjoy together?
Yeah, perfect.
That would be more of a Kristina response.
I'm sure we can find a sacred fruit, maybe like a mangosteen.
Right? And, I mean, there's so many fruits out there that are aphrodisiac.
Look what we have right here.
I'm just saying.
We got island honey that was harvested not 400 feet from where you're sitting right now. We got the sacred cacao. We got the berserker durian. That's a whole nother podcast we can have on that.
I mean, and if somebody wants to talk about aphrodisiac fruits.
What's your take on durian?
I love durian.
Do you eat durian like consistently?
Not consistently.
You mentioned you monofruit it, right?
I monofruit durian when I have local delicious durian in season. So it's maybe like when it's in season,
which is right now.
So maybe like this season I'll have it 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
In abundance, but I get mine just from a local farm down the street. But when I sit down to eat it, I sit down and I have a mono meal of it.
Okay. This has inspired me to ask you an important question outside of oysters. Would you say you're a seasonal eater?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's really important in my perspective. If you're going to go raw vegan or even mostly plant-based, you got to understand seasons, understand the cyclical cycle of our endocrine system, our anatomy, all of these things are related to seasons. Being in a subtropic place, you don't really have seasons per se on a climate. I mean, I guess you do kind of, but the food grows seasonal here. And so are you in flow with that?
Oh yeah.
You are.
Have to be.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
There's no shipping stuff or anything.
If you're committed to the lifestyle, then you have to be. So that's what I was saying, that if I'm eating 80% local, it's because I have access to, I'm literally choosing to eat what I have access to.
Yep.
The other 20% might be, oh, I bought some nuts or tahini at Healthy Hut.
Yeah.
And of course that didn't come on island, but I use that for my salad dressings. I'm not making a meal out of it. I'm using it as an addition to help flavor something, like some of the local greens that I'm making a big salad out of.
What are your what's your staple?
Oh.
Yeah, this is okay. I've been wanting to ask you this. What is your staple
routine?
So
I typically do about 3 meals a day, sometimes a snack of fruit.
What time are you rising?
I usually get up around 6.
Okay, you're not rising with any alarm bullshit, are you?
I usually get up before my alarm, but I set one because I have been known in the past to be an insomniac. So I'm always up before my alarm anyways. But my routine is I get up, I go work out.
Are you hydrating with spring water first thing on the rise?
No.
No.
I mean, maybe I wait a little bit, but I go to my yoga classes or my sculpt classes. I lift weights.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, I can tell.
I'm very physically active.
Yeah, sure.
I drink a lot of water until 11. I intermittent fast till 11 a.m. And then I consume about 2,400 calories a day on average, give or take 200. So
You're at 2,400 calories?
Yeah, I have a very healthy appetite.
Okay.
It surprises people.
Is that mostly in like coconut and fruit? How do you get 20?
It's through fruit. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I do heavy fruit meals.
So what's your first meal?
Juice. 32 to 64 ounces of whatever juice I can find. So yesterday I had like 48 ounces of fresh sugarloaf pineapple juice. Somebody dropped sugarloaf pineapples off on my porch. I was like, oh, I'm juicing these like liquid gold. Okay.
Wow.
You have no idea.
Wow.
It was like honey.
That's berserk.
But then the day before that I had soursop juice.
Okay.
Day before that it was like pure green juice.
So your breakfast is fruit juice.
It's juice or veggie juice. I'd say more often it's green juice, leafy greens, herbs, tons of herbs.
What's your second meal?
Fruit bowls, smoothie bowls, like loaded up, like huge smoothies. 8, 9 bananas.
Okay.
Like whatever else I can throw in there, local mangoes.
What's your dinner?
Huge salads, but all my savory stuff comes in at night. So I'll add in a lot of avocado and nuts and seeds and as many colors as I can in the salads.
Do you eat olive oil?
No.
You don't eat olive oil. So the only oils that you're getting are monosaturated fats or other fatty acids from, like coconut and things like that, avocado.
Or like coconut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Durian. I use oils on my skin though all the time.
Okay. Do you drink hot tea?
Rarely.
When's the last time you had like hot food?
Okay, so I'm gonna say warm, dehydrated within the temperature range of raw food, and like probably Bali 4 years ago because the raw food scene in Bali is insane.
They're berserk over there.
I mean, like they have the most masterful raw vegan culinary skills where they do consume warm raw food because they like take it right out of the dehydrator and like you get to eat it right there. But no, I turned my stove into like another chopping center.
Interesting.
Yeah, no.
Is there a level of dehydration that you can't cross over and all of a sudden that raw doesn't become raw anymore?
That sounds a bit obsessive, but yes, it's true. Above 118 degrees isn't raw, but
For how long?
I don't even know.
Okay.
See,
I'm getting technical here because
like
I'm fringe. I want to play with this a little bit.
You can play with that in my. You can test me. I'm here for that. But I'm not trying to scare people here. I'm trying to be inviting.
Yeah.
And I think what is most inviting is letting people know the focus is fresh, hydrating, colorful, whole, ripe, plant-based, organic fruits and vegetables. That's where it's at. And nothing fake.
Yep.
Right?
You mean you don't like Impossible Burger or Impossible Meat?
I think we know the answer.
Okay, sorry. Just had to ask that.
How about this? I think it's great for people who are transitioning in the beginning, but you definitely cannot do that forever.
Well, we're going to disagree. That's the first time me and her are going to disagree on anything. I do not think it's good for transitioning.
Okay.
I think you got to stay clear of that forever.
Okay. I'll agree with that.
Okay.
How about that?
All right.
The only reason why I say that is because I've seen it help some people transition, and when they were ready to let it go, they did.
Yeah.
But they felt like they needed it. So maybe the question is why did they feel like they needed it?
Okay.
Right?
All right.
But so after my salad, I mean, maybe occasionally I'll have some like raw cacao or like some like mini dessert, or sometimes if I'm hungry in the middle of the day, I'll have an extra fruit meal. Like for instance, like mangoes are going off right now. Like my snack in the middle of the day might be just like eating mangoes over the sink and just letting them drip down my chin.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you're in flow, you know, and
how does my day sound like to you?
That sounds like heaven. You know what I mean? This is a lot of people just, you know, if you can feel into that.
And I do supplement. But I'm not deficient in anything. I just like to make sure my bases are covered. Okay,
so you're getting your omegas in, you're getting all those things in. You know, that's how Symbiotica was founded, actually. I was like, okay, how do I help plant-based people, you know, merge in and get them the micronutrients that they might not be able to access because of their urban lifestyle and just not being having access to high mono-rich foods with life force.
Right. And I do receive a bit of criticism from people about it because they're like, oh, if you're raw vegan, why do you need to supplement? It's like,
whatever.
Number one, I'm here to live as an example. And number two, most people are not living the way I'm living. Most people are looking for the answers of what to supplement with. And if you're not going to recommend something to them that's like in alignment and healthy, they're going to go find it somewhere else. And who knows what they're going to find.
Well said.
Right?
Absolutely. One way or another, they're going to get to there.
Yeah.
It's just how they're going to do it. Right.
Right. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of how I've been like, I think I eat pretty simply, but it's like, for me, I feel like I eat life for a living. I eat living foods for a living.
I love that. And we're going to wrap with that. I really feel like there's going to be a round 2 to this, or this might've been round 2 as well, or round 3, because there's some really interesting stuff that I want to get into. I definitely want to get into specifics on farming and growing your own food and what that's cultivated in your own life. And I want to talk biodynamics with you. I want to share some thoughts with you and see if that can help activate you in other ways that you might not even known. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Dr. Rudolf Steiner. But other than that, it's been a freaking honor to have this conversation with you out on the lanai in the middle of the jungle with mosquitoes attacking me 24/7. This is the best day of all time, the best day ever. I really appreciate you. Fully raw Kristina in the flesh. Thank you so much for being on Wake the Fake Up.
Thank you for having me.
Aho.